Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone podcast. My name is Kathy. This is the first part of a 13-part special series reviewing the 13 motions to suppress that are currently pending with the court. The first motion to suppress, all of which were filed on November 14th, 2024 by the defense, is the motion to suppress genetic information. And it states that Mr. Kohberger moves the court to suppress, quote, all evidence illegally gathered by law enforcement using his genetic information. This motion is made pursuant to the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 17 of the Idaho Constitution, end of quote. So what Mr. Kohberger is essentially asking the court to do is to throw out all evidence that was gathered by law enforcement based on their use, allegedly, of his genetic information, which they allege was obtained illegally. What is an example of an illegal search and seizure? Well, let's just say that law enforcement was provided with a warrant to search the basement of a defendant's home because they believe that a firearm used in whatever the crime the defendant has been charged with was hidden in the basement of his home. If law enforcement, after obtaining that warrant to search the basement, decides to ransack the entire house, decides to go upstairs, go through every drawer, go through every closet, go through every bathroom, look under every bed, and gather evidence relative to that extended search, that might be deemed as an illegal search and seizure, with the exception of a couple of exceptions, which is beyond the scope of this presentation. But that's an example of what an illegal search and seizure might be. What Mr. Kohberger is referring to here is some genetic DNA testing that was done and that was discussed in one of the filings that we have on the record that provides us with the most information that we have on this topic of this DNA genetic testing. And it is the John Judge, who was the prior jurist, October 25th, 2023 order regarding genetic testing. It was brought before the court on a motion to compel from the defense to the state, asking the court to order the state of Idaho to turn over this genetic testing that was apparently done according to that order on a knife sheath that was found at the scene of the crime at 1122 King Road on November 13th, 2022. That order goes into exhaustive detail. It is very long, and it gives the history of what happened, how it was that this knife sheath was found, and what was done regarding testing. There was a couple of series of testing. One was done by the Idaho State Police Lab initially, and then it went somewhere else. And it's the secondary part of this testing that is really relevant in this motion to suppress. Now, unfortunately, we don't have access to what both sides are arguing, because the memorandum in support of this motion to suppress genetic information, as is the response by the state of Idaho in opposition and the reply by the defense to the state's response, all of the relevant evidence, the exhibits, the legal authority, the arguments are under seal. There is a pending motion that was just filed by one of the parties. We don't know who yet, because it's only shown up on the case summary page on January 13th, and it hasn't turned up on the public docket. One of the parties want debriefings, the motion to suppress and its memorandum in support, all of the other briefings, including the response in opposition and the reply, to be unsealed and therefore made available to the public. And if that were to happen, we would have a lot more information regarding what the relative arguments are and the support on either side. If you would like to review these documents, including the John Judge order, please go to the link that I have provided in this description to this podcast episode, and you can review it. Thank you for joining us.